Good morning. So lovely to see you all. I was just having this feeling as we got ready to have the public come in during our retreat and have this Dharma talk. I was remembering being at the Thousand Kannon Temple in Kyoto, and normally it's just like sort of tourists. You walk down a row and look at the thousands of statues, but we were very lucky, and there was a big ceremony happening that happens once a month, and the monks were running around getting the books and being like, "Where did you put the widget?" And at the last minute, suddenly, poof, something wonderful happened. So it's kind of quiet here today. Maybe you're like, "Oh, thank goodness I can come in here and I don't have to make small talk." Or maybe you're like, "Oh, this feels a little awkward to be in this space with all these people and no talking, no one's looking at me." So what I can say is this is something to which we can become accustomed to, just bring our bodies together and embody a simplicity and presence and care that's not about having ideas about each other or figuring each other out or even knowing each other's stories, all of which are wonderful. But this is another way of intimacy. Ever see like geese? They're like running around, fighting, arguing, chase each other. And then sometimes you'll find a bunch of geese and one of them sits down and just tucks its beak in underneath its wing. And then a few minutes later, a few other geese sit down. And pretty soon, the whole flock is deeply at rest. And I don't think anyone said, "Okay, now it's time to rest. Do you guys feel like resting?" As bodies resting together. So I'm grateful for everyone coming together and creating this context where this can happen. And, there are about 25 people who've been in session for the weekend, practicing silence and doing all the Zen things from 5:45 a.m. till 9 at night. And of course, when you get home, and it's been wonderful, and I'm really grateful. So glad to be here with everybody. So my topic for today is the Purifying Practice Sutra, also known as the Purifying Practice chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. And the basic idea of the Purifying Practice chapter is that if we want everyone to be free from suffering and we really want to manifest our most liberative possibilities, what we should do is in each activity be wishing that everyone and everything be free from suffering. And there's a not exhaustive but quite lengthy list of types of activities. Things like brushing your teeth, washing your face, so washing your face, wishing that all beings be free from suffering, meditating, wishing that all beings be free from suffering, listening to a Dharma talk, wishing that all beings be free from suffering, giving a Dharma talk, wishing that all beings be free from suffering. So there's activities, also just sort of context. So like when you see a tree, wish all beings be free from suffering. When you see a river, wish all beings be free from suffering. When you lift up a bowl, wishing all beings be free from suffering. And when you put a bowl down. So there are verses for each of these activities and maybe 100 or two more. This is the basic idea, basic topic of the sutra, basic topic of this talk. So it's called the Purifying Practice Sutra. I can recall many discussions at this Zen Center many years ago during morning study group where people kind of make gag me faces at the word purity. purifying, pure, impure. So, what does purifying mean in this context or in general in a Buddhist context? It means impurity refers to things which are suffering or part of the causes of suffering. And purity is things that are non-suffering and part of the causes of non-suffering. So, it's, purity is probably a good translation of this. The idea of a klesha. Sometimes we say it's a poison, sometimes an impurity, sometimes an affliction. I tend to value the idea of an affliction. But the common image throughout Indian literature is a gem, which is got a flaw, a klesha, an impurity, an affliction, something that makes it cloudy. It's unclear. So anyway, I think calling it the Purifying Practice Sutra is appropriate because it's an accurate translation. But for me, it's really about healing. These are healing practices. There is suffering. I think that's evident. There are causes of suffering. And there's also non-suffering and causes of non-suffering. And these verses in this sutra are about creating the causes of non-suffering. That, in their language, would be purifying things. So yesterday we were focusing on wholehearted activity. So I talked at great length about lifting up a bowl, wishing that all beings be free from suffering, and lifting up your teacup, wishing all beings be free from suffering, and putting your teacup down, wishing all beings be free from suffering. So I didn't talk about the sutra itself. I talked about what we were actually doing, because sesshin is principally a whole bunch of activities which we are hoping to infuse with this aspiration or intention or love. So the Purifying Practice Sutra is a chapter in the Flower Garland Sutra, also in Sanskrit known as the Avatamsaka Sutra. And there are three really sort of most influential and famous parts of the sutra, which is, if anyone just wants to do some curls, that's good. I handed this to the attendant to put on the thing. I said, it's heavy. Said, no problem. Got this. It's big. But there are three sections that are very influential. The 10 Stages Sutra, or the Dashabhumaka Shastra. The Purifying Practice, which we'll talk about today, and then the Ganda Vyuha, which will be the subject of practice period coming up in a couple weeks. And each has their own kind of vibe. So the Purifying Practice Sutra is, one way it's influential is that we chant verses from it here a couple days a week and every day during sesshin. So the Soto Zen refuge vows, I take refuge in Buddha, may all living beings embody the great way resolving to awaken. I take refuge in Dharma, may all living beings deeply enter the teachings, wisdom like the sea. I take refuge in Sangha, may all living beings support harmony in the community completely without hindrance. These are verses from the Purifying Practice Sutra. And I found out that was true after I had chanted them, a couple thousand times. I was like, well, look, here they are. There are also our acknowledgement of karma is from a different section in the Flower Garland. I'm going to read you a few examples from the sutra, just so you can get the vibe. Now, in hearing sutras, and in particular the Flower Garland, it's helpful to have an approach to relating to it. And what I will say, have you ever watched waves on the ocean? Or, if not, maybe a fire, like a campfire or a fire in a fireplace. And you might look at those waves and that fire, you might be like, oh, there's a fire. And then you go do something else, or you think about something else. Or you might either accidentally or intentionally just say, I'm just going to watch these waves. I'm just going to look at this fire. And I hope you've experienced this before. If not, please try. But something happens. And many people will say, oh, we were just sitting camping, and we were just looking at the fire, and it's like 2 hours later, no one said anything. So still, so focused, so spacious in awareness. So that is to say you don't have to figure out the fire or determine whether you like the fire. Do I like this fire? Is that a good ember or a bad ember? Just bring your attention and let it wash over you. So I'm going to read a little bit of sort of the prologue where it's like, why are we doing this, these verses, and then I'll read a few of the verses. So, then the Bodhisattva chief in knowledge asked the Bodhisattva Manjushri, how can Bodhisattvas attain faultless physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain harmless physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain blameless physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain invulnerable physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain unshakable physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain excellent physical, verbal, and mental action? How can they attain skill in analyzing the psychophysical elements and organs? Skill in seeing interdependent origination? Skill in seeing the realms of desire? How can they cultivate well the branches of enlightenment, mindfulness, discernment, effort, joy, well-being, concentration, and relinquishment? How can they attain emptiness, signlessness, and wishlessness? How can they fulfill the means of transcendence, generosity, self-control, tolerance, effort, meditation, and wisdom? How can they fulfill kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity? And it goes on a little bit. Manjushri responds, excellent, O child of Buddha. You have asked this question out of a desire to benefit many, to bring peace to many out of compassion for the world. And then he goes on to say, if you want to attain all these things, recite these verses as you do things. Bodhisattvas at home should wish that all beings realize the nature of home is empty and escape its pressures. While serving their parents, they should wish that all beings serve the Buddha, protecting and nourishing everyone. While with their spouses and children, they should wish that all beings be equanimous towards everyone and forever give up attachment. When attaining desires, they should wish that all beings pull out the arrow of desire and realize ultimate peace. If in danger and difficulty, they should wish that all beings be free, unhindered wherever they go. The removal of this book dart, which tells me what to read, is a kind of a scary experience for me right now. But we'll figure out what to do as we go. So that's just kind of the opening. So in the Soto school has like in Japan, from Japan, has a book of like the official scriptures. And it contains a bunch of verses from the Purifying Practices Sutra, having to do with, including the refuge vows, but also doing some things, and I'll read them in a minute, having to do with washing and cleaning and stuff. And I remember when I first encountered these, because I think we used to have here at MCMC the cards on the wall. It'd be like, when I shave my face, I'm going to cut away all my vanity. I wish that would have happened. And they had various other places, you know, using the bathroom, we will eliminate defilement and so forth. And so these are great. They're wonderful. I'm just going to read you the ones in the translation we have here, which will be a little different than what you would see. The translations are different from what's in the Soto scriptures and in some other versions. This is going to refer to a toothstick. Never used one, but I think it's kind of like a toothbrush. Taking a toothstick in hand, they should wish that all beings attain the wonderful teaching and be ultimately pure. When using the toothstick, they should wish that all beings be harmonious and pure in mind, biting through all afflictions. When going to the toilet, they should wish that all beings reject desire, aversion, and delusion, and clean away sinful things. When going to wash thereafter, they should wish that all beings speedily go to the Bodhisattva realm. When washing the body, they should wish that all beings be pure and harmonious, and ultimately without impurity. When washing the hands with water, they should wish that all beings have pure, clean hands to receive and hold Buddha's teaching. When washing the face with water, they should wish that all beings attain the pure teaching, and be forever free. So this is probably how you're washing your hands at home, I assume. Or maybe not. Maybe there's a different angle on things. I'm washing my hands like, what am I going to do in 10 minutes? What's on my schedule? But sometimes I remember to wash my hands, wishing everyone be free. And we still have one, I think we just have one gata for cleaning in this building, and it's down in the basement bathroom, and it's handwritten by Ted O'Toole, and I have to go from memory. It says, when mindfully washing my hands, I wish that I and all beings take care of ourselves and each other, free from fear. And he wrote this within a few days of the COVID pandemic becoming a pandemic, thinking that we needed to wash our hands a lot, and about 2 days before we closed the building for 1.5 years. So about 17 of us saw that verse at the time, but it remains there a testament to the value of bringing ourselves to this activity as an opportunity to care for each other and to find a new kind of freedom. And not to make light of the COVID pandemic, just acknowledging that all the suffering, lives lost, and challenges that have been and continue to be as a result of that illness. So, gatas for daily practice. Gata just means verse, so any kind of short poem could be called a gata. And yeah, we have this idea embedded in our tradition of using a little verse to remind us to practice now. It's like, are you one of these? No, sorry. Sometimes people say to me, well, I haven't been practicing. And I'm always thinking, I think you're practicing something, because what you do is what produces your life, and it's what produces the human experience. So practice. We can do meditation practice, and we can do hand washing practice, and we can do listening to our friends practice, and reading the news practice, if you really have a lot of strength of mind. The gatas, as we've said, as you've heard over and over again, they all contain a wish, some kind of wish. So the underlying idea of the wish is that everyone be free, but there'll be all these kind of different characteristics. So the verses are not totally repetitive. And this is a little bit like metta practice. If you've ever done loving kindness practice, we say, like, may all beings be happy, may all beings be healthy, may all beings be safe, may all beings be at peace. So we evoke a wish. And the principal idea of this wish in a Buddhist context is to transform the way our consciousness relates to ourselves and other people, to the world. It's wonderful. And if you've ever, I think most people I know who've done metta practice and sat with those, something happens, something opening, and it helps us. But sometimes there's a kind of a shift in the way some translations and some versions of these gatas emerge in a Zen context, where instead it's a vow. So instead of wishing everyone be happy, we vow to help everyone be happy. So at the end of all our Dharma talks on Sunday, we chant the 4 vows. We don't start out being like, the beings are numberless, may they be free from suffering. We say, beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Which has, to me, a little more heat. A little more heat. So in here, just to give you some examples of this distinction within these gathas, I'll read a couple more. When entering a hall, they should wish that all beings ascend to the unexcelled sanctuary and rest there secure and unshakable. When setting out a seat, they should wish that all beings cause good principles to bloom and see their true character. Sitting up straight, they should wish that all beings sit on the seat of enlightenment, their minds without attachment. Cultivating concentration, they should wish that all beings train their mind with concentration, ultimately leaving no remainder. When practicing contemplation, they should wish that all beings see truth as it is and forever be free of opposition and contention. And it goes on, uncrossing the legs, lowering the feet, raising the legs, putting on a belt. Wish, wish, wish. It happened again. I need to be more mindful of my book dart usage in my book. There's opportunities for training for me. Thank you, book darts. So I'm going to read you a few of these that have a vow. So here's Robert Aiken one. When I feel I haven't got time, never happens, right? When I feel I haven't got time, I vow with all beings to light incense, and making my vows touch the place of no time. So 1, we have this vow, and 2, yeah, you want more time? Settle down. The mind makes time seem small and limited. It is not. It's vast and seamless, beyond comprehension. Here's one from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's has written many, many gathas and encouraged people to use them in many different ways. And, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh, one of very deeply sourced from the Flower Garland Sutra in his teaching. Entering the meditation room, I see my true mind. I vow that once I sit down, all disturbances will stop. High bar, my friends. I've been seeing people in Dokusan during this retreat. It turns out you enter the meditation hall and make that vow, and then your mind proliferates. How wonderful. That's like birds singing, minds proliferating, spring coming. Amazing. This is one of, I think, probably Thich Nhat Hanh, one of his most famous verses. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24-hour brand new days are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at beings with the eyes of compassion. Wow. So sometimes there's kind of a popular distinction people will make between Buddhist schools that are focused on other power versus self-power. Other power being like a devotional practice. So I came in this morning and we did, first thing I did is I walked into the Zendo and I made 3 vows in front of this altar, put my head on the floor, just giving myself up to Bodhisattva, who's beyond a name. She is a beautiful representation of the life that I would like to see people being able to live, and I just give myself up. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a bodhisattva. I was just like, oh, thank you. Help me. I got to be here all day. I love being here all day. I'm very lucky. I am really lucky to be with you. So grateful. But on the other hand, we turn around, and in this Zen tradition, there's a lot of emphasis on bringing your own energy to the practice, making a commitment to be free, to help others be free, to let go. Then we try super hard to let go. I'm letting go as hard as I can. Oh, Zen is kind of funny. Or maybe we're just kind of funny. I don't know. Ultimately, though, where does the wish come from? Where does the vow come from? Where does it go? If you figure that out, I would love to hear. That is to say, is it the self or is it another? What has to happen for you to find yourself in this room saying, beings are numberless, I vow to free them? Think of all the things that had to happen for you to be doing that. How many of them are you doing it? Like, it's just tiny part. Tiny part. So, generally speaking, though, I'm talking about this. So during the session yesterday, I didn't talk about Purifying Practices Sutra too much, which is about all these verses, because we're kind of not using a lot of words. Kinda. Would be an understatement. So the idea is kind of to evoke this feeling or this motivation or the energy that comes from caring about people and turn it into doing what you're doing right now with your whole attention and with as much care and kindness as you can. So the gathas, they do a bunch of words to do that, but kind of the hope in this practice is that that is a wordless energy that moves in us. And I really see this happening. Like, it's pretty cool. If you've never been to a session or a retreat and just seen a whole bunch of people doing all kinds of things for each other with enormous concentration and care in how they move with each other. I think there's someone in there cooking right now. There's an Eno who disappears and magically makes things happen that are important and you don't even know what it was. People, watching the clock so we can all move together and ringing the bells. Washing dishes, but it's like, just hear a little bit of sound in there. Working, we cleaned the whole building yesterday. And then sometimes people kind of sneak in while we're not looking and make these amazing, beautiful flower arrangements. And you won't even know, and then you'll kind of see someone in some corner of the building just meticulously working on making something beautiful to offer to you. To you. This has been happening day in and day out in this place for over 50 years. So I remember actually the first time I saw some gathas from this, I had no idea they were from the sutra. Like I say, I learned that this stuff came from the sutra like last week or something. Okay, maybe 4 years ago or something. But anyway, for years I've been seeing them. And I remember when I first saw them, I was like, I'd been practicing Zen for like, a month. And I was like, oh, I thought Zen was going beyond words and letters. What's this whole thing? We've got words. I have to like say a bunch of words before I wash my hands. That was pretty cool, guys. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, not my joke is funny. I'm so ridiculous as a human being, just doing silly things. Thinking I'm real smart. Whoa. Anyway, turns out I need help. I need help. I need reminders. It would have been great if someone could have just said, like, 3 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever when I started practicing, just evoke a sense of love and compassion for all beings and bring it to each thing you do in every moment. Okay. And then just go do that. It doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it happened for somebody, and I love them. They're great. But for most people I know, it takes a lot of reminders. It's incredible how much of our life is spent on an autopilot that's just manifesting old conditioning. That's narrow. That's narrow. So, you could learn some of these gathas from this text, or you could find some from Thich Nhat Hanh. You could put them up in your house. It's great. Some that I haven't seen written yet, but you could try are reading the news today. I vow with all beings to be free from fear and manifest energy for everyone's liberation. Or, you might be like, I'm afraid people are losing their access to food. And you say, as I go to the meeting to figure out how to provide mutual aid and food for people, I vow with all beings to listen to everyone and leave no one out of the circle of care. Or, if you're calling up your senator, I vow with all beings to love everyone, including this politician, who is part of the whole beautiful world, fully worthy of compassion. I'm just going to read a couple more of these with the invitation for you to just kind of let them wash over you. Seeing trees with luxuriant foliage, they should wish that all beings make a canopy of light with stability and liberation. If they see flowers blooming, they should wish that all beings, mystic, spiritual powers blossom like flowers. If they see blossoms on trees, they should wish that all beings' features be like flowers, with all the marks of goodness. If they see fruits, they should wish that all beings attain the supreme teaching and realize the way of enlightenment. If they see a big river, they should wish that all beings gain entry into the stream of truth and enter the ocean of Buddha knowledge. If they see a pond, they should wish that all beings be fully accomplished in speech and be skillful in teaching. If they see a well, they should wish that all beings have full powers of elucidation to explain all things. Seeing a garden cultivated, they should wish that all beings in the garden of sense desires clear away the weeds of craving. Seeing happy people, they should wish that all beings always be peaceful and happy, gladly supporting all. Seeing people suffer, they should wish that all beings attain the fundamental knowledge that eliminates all suffering. Seeing an empty bowl, they should wish that all beings be pure of heart and empty of affliction. Seeing a full bowl, they should wish that all beings completely fulfill all virtues. When washing their feet, they should wish that all beings fulfill the basis of spiritual powers, unhindered wherever they go. When going to sleep at night, they should wish that all beings attain physical ease and undisturbed minds. Awakening from sleep, they should wish that all beings awaken vast knowing, perceiving in all directions. Those last two are the final verses of the chapter, and also are on the cover of the bulletin. And for those of you who are here at the talk, the last line is also facing in all directions, which was one of the themes of yesterday's talk. I think it would be nice to chant some of these together. Would our esteemed Doan be willing to distribute chant books? We're probably going to need to have one per two people, and you could maybe get another person to help hand a few out. And I think I'll just keep talking while we do this. So we're just going to be chanting the acknowledgement of karma, the 3 refuges, and the 4 vows that are the Tuesday morning, open the Tuesday morning service. So some people will have this memorized. And in this particular chant, there's a call and response. So the doan will, that's me in this case, or the kokyo, will voice the opening line, and then you can come and join in if you'd like. And we just chant in octaves here, optimally. So low voices be something like, I take refuge in Buddha, and high voices, I take refuge in Buddha. Sometimes people just think that's a low sound. I'm just going to go as low as I go. That may not produce harmonious sounds. Sometimes we get an array of sound, a wondrous cloud of pitch, and that's wonderful too. But listening, practice of chanting is principally listening to hear the sound and bring your voice that matches that sound. So, just to be clear, we are now chanting directly from the Flower Garland Sutra in the Purifying Practices chapter. I take refuge in Buddha. May all living beings embody the great way, resolving to awaken. I take refuge in Dharma. May all living beings deeply enter the teachings, wisdom like the sea. I take refuge in Sangha. May all living beings support harmony in the community completely without hindrance. Beings are numberless, vowing to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, vowing to extinguish them. Dharma gates are boundless, vowing to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable, vowing to become it. Thank you. That was inspiring to me. I don't know how it was for you. Very beautiful. And we hear right within those, within our service, we pivot from the wish to the vow. So we let it in, whole kind of opening, and I can do this. The Buddha's message is fundamentally a message of empowerment. You can practice. You can care about people. You can manifest that care and develop it. Some people who know me be like, Ben, you're not talking about all the terrible political things you always talk about. I don't think I talk about politics, to be honest. I do talk about people's lives all over the world, and animals' lives, and the plants' lives. I don't think that's politics, but it's okay if you do. But it's sesshin. These verses are about reminding us that it's worth it to do what we're doing for all beings. Even you're like, I don't understand why washing my hands can be for all beings. You don't even have to figure it out. If you figure something out, that's good. But there is something about trust and faith in the value of attention and care in each moment that underlies the entire Buddhist tradition. And these verses are to evoke and remind us of it. Because it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget. And we can, later on we can bring this to all kinds of activities and other people that we can care for. But today we're in Sesshin. We focus on just picking up a bowl, putting down a bowl. Well, these verses, another way to think of them are they're about awakening bodhicitta, the mind of awakening, the aspiration that everyone be free from suffering. These are great methods, these kind of verses. There are many methods. Cornel West has sometimes said, you must let suffering speak if you want to hear the truth. So today you might find yourself experiencing suffering. Well, let it speak. Let it be seen. You don't have to think about it a lot. That's not what I'm recommending, but just know, I'm sad. This is sadness, or this is grief, or this is fear. Just touch it. That's a truth that's important. It's very hard to find the motivation to want everyone to be free if you don't care about their suffering. So we have to look. But you don't have to stay in it or dive in. Oh, I think I'll dive into the suffering. No, just see it. Let it speak. Let it be seen and shown. Your awareness is big. And I think these verses are there to evoke that because they keep reminding us, you're washing your hands. It's like, oh, damn, there's a lot of suffering, people. Every one of them is reminding you that there's a lot of suffering in the world as part of it. Otherwise, why would I want everyone to be free? So this idea of seeing suffering, First Noble Truth, is embedded in all the verses. Training the mind. The Dhammapada says, it's an archer aims his arrows, the wise aim their restless thoughts. So hard to train and hard to restrain. This is not a verse with a very Zen flavor. But it's really okay if you're sitting around thinking, why the hell did the bad blah, 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 to go, you know what, that's not a helpful way of thinking about this. And be like, I'm going to shift to thinking about what can I do that will help people? What can I do that will be kind? If you find your mind is just rehashing some failure, it's like, can I shift and think about this in a different way? That's okay. Even though we're practicing Zen, just replacing inflictive cognition with one that actually helps you and helps you be free and helps other people. And these verses contain this, right? Because we keep reminding ourselves, putting a beneficial cognition into our experience. Embodying dana, giving, generosity. Every one of these is about saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to give my attention to the idea that everyone be free. So actually embodying a sense of giving and generosity, I can recommend it. I'm trying to develop this. And then we have, zazen, objectless practice, wordless care for the simple things we're doing. And if all this seems too complicated or overwhelming, or you just need something to help you just ground in your embodied reality, you can put it all down and just touch. As the Buddha did at the moment of his awakening, touch the ground, bhumi sparsa. Well, thank you very much. I think that probably a few of you somewhere in there may have found you were listening to this Dharma talk for the liberation of all beings. And I'm going to try and offer up my giving of it for the liberation of all beings. And thank you very much. And we do have a few minutes for some other voices. So Just a few minutes, so comments, if they can be brief and spoken with a full voice everyone can hear, that's really nice. And if you have questions, that's fine too. Online, you can just unmute and start talking and we'll all hear you magically. For those of you who don't know, there are probably about 50 people online right now. Yeah.
You touched on it a bit a few times, but I'm wondering if you can talk about how the repetition of words invokes the feeling and like how that process is like meant to feel in your body.
Yeah, how does the repetition evoke something? Well, I think I've just heard a lot of people talk about experiencing this. So it's like if you just keep coming to it, you kind of, the meaning sinks into your body, not so much through thinking about it, but through, it's just like, if I just keep saying, I love you, it affects my relationships and it affects how I feel about people. I mean, if I was lying or if I was like, I love you, but I'm not, then you have a lot of friction. So some friction can be worked with though. But I think it's just a natural tendency for the things we say out loud affect the way we feel, the way we treat people. So maybe I'm just going to give kind of a simple, basic answer. Thank you. Yeah.
In therapy, I was asked what I wanted to get out of it. And I said I wanted to reprogram my mind. I had all these programs that made me suffer. And I was told, I can't do that for you. But these programs that you have, they're like pathways. And you've walked them a lot. The road is very worn. In my case, probably really deep, it's trenches. And what we can do is to help you realize when you're getting on that road and take a different one and just make a different path and your mind will do that. And I believe that's what we're saying here.
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, they give you those reminders to be like, oh, I want to shift from this, afflictive or not very helpful thing to. And the other thing, though, that happens, and it's similar to most other Buddhist methodologies, is sometimes if you do it for a while, suddenly that becomes the natural tendency. You're like, my rut is actually like a vast, spacious road with all beings on it. I love that rut. It took a little while to occasionally find myself on it. Yes.
There is a beautiful gatha that I frequently see in bathrooms when I'm out and about, which is a reminder towards harmlessness in action and a wish for the health and wellness of all beings. And it goes, employees must wash hands.
Employees must wash hands before returning to work. I didn't want to cut you off. Just want to make sure everyone heard that. Is there more?
I think that it's important that practical things be interpreted in meaningful ways, and I think that the fact that a reminder like that exists is proof that we're all taking care of one another, not only spiritually but also realistically, and embodied, grounded, messy way. And I think it's beautiful as well.
Thank you for that. This is just making me think of the language in the sutra. Manjushri is saying they should do this, they should do this, they should do this. I'm not very excited about should. I just don't think I'm the one who knows. I think Manjushri's pretty smart, but and must. That's even a higher level of power. The beautiful thing about shifting to the vow, you're empowered. You're empowered. And the wonderful thing is, like, when you see that sign, is it possible to be like, oh, that is us taking care of each other? because many times people have thought, oh, they're making me do something. You'd like to think they want to wash their hands with. So anyway, something about the subtlety of language and power and empowerment is embedded in this whole story you're sharing. So thank you for that. Anyone online want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to one of the first readings or one of the early readings you had where someone was asking questions.
I'm going to interrupt briefly and just say downstairs, if it's possible to increase the volume in here, that would be helpful. We can hear, but it's a little bit faint. Please do proceed.
Okay, I'll try to speak louder. Is that better?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. So in one of the first readings that you did, someone was asking questions. He was asking this list of questions. Like, how can I end suffering? How can I have more compassion? And the answer was sort of an affirmation of the questions. The questions were on the right track. And they were somehow linked to aspiration. And the next step was a vow. And I love that because there's a pathway. And then the second comment I have was just, I don't know, I can't remember the exact words, but the Gatha of Robert Aiken and the time. So just thank you for both of those.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is, yeah, that Gatha is great. And I just like to say, one of my favorite things in the Q&A is very standard formula for Mahayana Sutras and actually even earlier ones. The person asks the question and then the person who's being asked says, excellent, you have asked this question because you're interested in everyone being free from suffering. So the question itself is a manifestation of exactly the thing we're being invited to do, like the quality of question. But anyway, you wanted to say something?
You've sort of touched on what I'm going to ask about, but I'd like to hear you say more explicitly. Usually we're told, if you're reading the newspaper, read the newspaper mindfully. If you're on the toilet, be on the toilet mindfully, don't be looking at your phone, and today what you seem to be suggesting is when you're reading the newspaper, you should also be saying this pretty complex sentence that that person would have trouble remembering. And how do those two go together?
Well, the Gatha is pretty short. So if you think like you're going to read the newspaper for 10 minutes, the Gatha takes 14 seconds and shifts the way you read the newspaper. So definitely I know that like I'll go into the bathroom and it's not precious time for me usually. I'm like, oh, I'm in the bathroom doing something gross. I don't care. Think about something else. But if before I walk in, I go, I'm going to use this bathroom for the liberation of all beings. And then I use the toilet and then I go, I'm going to wash my hands for the liberation of all beings. It brings me to what I'm doing. And it brings me a sense of my connection to everyone and that what I do matters. So if you can't remember the long verses, which you probably can't, just, I'm going to read this newspaper for the liberation of all beings. It won't take you much time at all. If you do this for like 150 activities in a day, it will occupy 5 or 6 minutes. So check it out. Speaking of time, which is limitless, seamless, and boundless, I better end my peroration. I really appreciate you all being here, bringing your hearts and your practices. I appreciate what you are doing all over your lives to bring transformation and kindness. And I'm going to turn it over to the Doan. Thank you so much.